Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for your mayor of Abbotsford. I'm running because of thanks to the Mission RCMP that told me Abbotsford needs a man like me, needs to show taxpayers and voters that the city council and mayor were not about the city. They were increasing themselves portfolio. They took advantage of the information in the city and then gained off of it, the same as Henry did with his son, and his son took all the information. It was insider trading. It was where they had the establishments between Vicky Hopes and the little institutions all tied up. Till Darren Brown opened that door, showing how Rick Rakes, the former pro editor, and then Tyler Olson, Vicky Hopes, and that, and how they would block everybody. I showed you a video today of unless you kiss the police chief's ass and stick your head up his butt side, you can't run for city council. Basically, you gotta go there, do your 3 years of training, and then they can ask you, can you be dirty? Can you help the developers? And if you go yes, you get a pass. And what is involved with that pass is this. When Mike DeYoung was here, he told Abbotsford residents, cut a deal, Henry owns Abbotsford. Knowing that Henry got in his car, left the scene of the city, came to end my life, fled from the scene, and used the top of the Abbotsford police. These mentally retarded people in the Abbotsford police believe that the company was that big, it covered attempted murder. Once it opened that door to cover the attempted murder, it then started to threaten and used the company and his officers to threaten, to pressure, to get you out of town so they could cover what Henry was doing with his son, collaborating with city councils, and it's a jail sentence of life what had Ed and Mike and everybody involved. It's supposed to be a conspiracy, but the doors got pried open thanks to a few people in the Mission RCMP, and they couldn't get it shut. Then the Abbotsford men and women that were friends with Henry started running roughshod, and it was all over for them. They believe that they never get their teeth kicked in. We gotta always take sympathy for them. We always can lie to the public, and the public's always gotta look at this shithole trash that runs around our town, picking up prostitutes, racing our Dodge Chargers, stealing gas, punching little people, telling little kids in Yale Secondary because they're black, they're not allowed in the parks, and the vicious acts covering attempted murder. Now we know with everything that's taken place in Abbotsford, we have to look at 99% of the crime in Abbotsford is it covered up because it's their own family and them involved, and this is why we're not getting crime solved. And that we do know. The shit of Mike Sir and the investigators and his task force is bullshit. You know, you saw him smash my personal phone and my camera because it was exposing them. And I challenged the police chief, the new guy, figuring this guy might have been a little bit different. He might have some balls, but he didn't. To go to White Rock and talk to the billionaire, then come out and say, Mr. Pelican, I'm very sorry. Out of my own pocket, here's $1,200 for your phone and $4 grand for your camera, and I apologize and make amends. And tried to save his job, he didn't. He went down on his officer so fast and covered and lied. Then the threats up at Ledgeview by the officer saying, pull over, he's an off-duty officer, and he was going to show me the budge. He was going to put me in the grave because I was exposing the insider trading, knowing from Peter Wall Financial, Aquilini, Mike Dakota, Stuart Olson, that Henry's son took the information out of the city. If Henry's son's doing it, it would be, in my opinion, that Chief Colin Watts' officers that are friends are also taking the coke and the meth out the door. It's a lavish millions of dollars, and if the mayor and his son did it, and Dave Sadu did it, and they looked away from it, it would be only fitting that they're doing it. Oh no, wait a minute, look at this shithole uniform, and look at my shithole guys running around on Alex Mitchell's lap. So I showed you we worked very hard to get the establishment unseated from the feds, and then worked the provincial, and now the municipality. And Henry was running it all. There is no such thing the law looks away from Henry Brown because he's got money. Who looked away from Henry Brown was the filthy police department and Henry's friends. And they were doing him a favor, and rather than call him out, they got their all selves caught. That's how Andy Sadu got caught, Mark Workentine got caught, Dave Sadu got caught, Ed Fast, Ron Funka Diverse, and everybody got caught because they went around protect Henry. That's how much power this man had, and that's how much he controlled in this town and still did. And then they figured they weren't going to take criminal reports. When we unseated Mike DeYoung, it was because of what he did for the establishment. And we made it clear to Abbotsford that Korky Neufeid was running against Mike DeYoung. And Korky was going to take him out, and he talked this big bloody talk, and he was already the establishment. And I looked at him and I went, this guy's already owned. He's fooling you. And it's better off to have a guy in here that's not well tied in Victoria like Mike was. He could pull favors off the phone and get this jackass. At least we got Mike out. And he was talking all this talk. Now we're in the midst of the election. We saw Korky Neufeid take Amric Moran to Victoria against all the other councillors. I'm running for mayor. I will not allow the councillors that got to work to be undermined and be treated wrong because this jackass figures that his friend deserves it. It wasn't his friend. He knows better than to do this. He knew better than to do it. And then when Amric Moran rolled from kissing the police chief's ass in the establishment, and what nobody can understand, lawyers and cops don't get work together, and they're not supposed to work together. But here in Abbotsford, oh, they're like this. They're like this. The cops are always telling you the lawyers are getting the criminals off. And they're like this. Amric Moran couldn't, because it was a private police that was run by an establishment, not functioned by the law or the system that was around it. And it didn't know how to do anything, and it doesn't know how to control it. And so comes along Amric Moran, 25-year lawyer. And as he leaves the police and the police foundation, knowing that Dave Sidhu's property was in trading, knowing what Barty Sandhu are called out on Abbotsford First, on Sandy Blue and everything else. Mark Warkentine, what he did as a city council and everything. Korky Neufeid and the rich elites of Abbotsford figure they're smarter than everybody, and they threw an elaborate party. And no one can figure out, it was supposed to be a secret party, so let me tell you by name. Sitting city councillor, Liberal, MLA partner of Mike DeYoung, Simon Gibson. Conflict of interest, going to endorse Amric Moran. He'll now use everybody in the city to pull Amric's favors, pull signs, and do what they did last time. Then Mark Warkentine, the city council, and a lawyer that owns Ed Fasold law practice, knew that's insider trading. It's what Dave Sidhu has done, and he knew that that is a conflict of interest promoting that candidate. Korky Neufeid standing right there, slapping Caroline Finlay in the face that he is hanging with Mike DeYoung, knowing that the BC Liberals insiders destroyed the Conservative Party. And you saw that when we saw Caroline Elliott, you saw Peter Mellibard, you saw Ian Black, and Caroline now Finlay has to worry about this bag of garbage. And Abbotsford's going to deal with them very straight. I told you that they'll work very hard, and that office we're going to turn it into 1BC and take that smile off his face. What really upset Abbotsford and really ripped them apart was he stood there beside Mike DeYoung when Abbotsford, wait, what the establishments can't do, they cannot stand strong like Rianne Gasper and Bruce Banman. They always got to keep folding and running back to these people that take them down a rabbit hole and wreck their career. One after another, and we saw that. We saw what Henry did to Pam, and he pulled her down, he destroyed her. We saw what Henry's done to Simon, how he lost his position. We saw what Henry did to Ed Fast, and we saw what Henry did to Mike DeYoung, and they took him down a rabbit hole. They just didn't know how to stand on their own for Abbotsford residents. But what should have never been done, is that private party for Amric Moran. Amric Moran will now have, he has this, and let me tell all the city councils, he has the whole establishment of Abbotsford City working with him. That means the electoral officer, Gabriel, when last time he wouldn't let my scrutinees in to count the votes, he went around picking up all my signs for Henry, and he figured he was smart. He didn't know. The RCMP said, let him go. You need to let him go. We need to prove that Henry is rigging the election, Mr. Pelican. Let him walk on private property and take the signs. Then he wouldn't give me the by-election or the electoral list that my mayor people in my office running my campaign could phone people and say, would you like to vote for Mr. Pelican? This is what he did. Gabriel figured he was smart. Then he's got the resources and the stuff of Vicky Hope's blocking everybody else and only promoting Amric Moran. The meringue has got to be, the meringue pie has got to be promoted. Then he has the whole Abbotsford police that will threaten other candidates, and they'll use their task force like Henry did on me and Mogel to make sure Amric Moran gets the full royal treatment right up his backside of everything. Then he'll have the whole Chamber of Commerce, like Greg Toes tried to bribe me, Mr. Pelican. You're out of this debate. In 4 years, we're going to run you. We need bloody Ross for the developers. What a stupidest thing I ever did. He didn't know that I had the former premier with me, MLAs with me and everything, and he didn't know the RCMP emission. Then he's got the establishment tied up. He'll have the sports center, rigging nerves and everything. And Amric Moran then gets the big party of the lifetime. Having there Mark Warkentine of a conflict of interest, Simon Gibson of a conflict of interest. Remember what Dave Sidhu did with the BC United coat was a conflict of interest. Knowing Dave Sidhu's piece of property, this chicken shit MLA stands here and allows David Eby to climb over the BC Conservatives rather than doing his part and pulling them down. He knows it's insider trading. He knows Vitalis got a corporate welfare handout. It's a multi-million-dollar company. It didn't need it. He knows there's 5,000 farmers that land could have went on. And he knows creating that ag co-op was wrong because Vitalis didn't set an ag co-op up. It went in and it privately owned it. It used that part under it that it said it was going to set up that co-op and didn't do it. And it didn't own quota or nothing. They knew it was a lift to Dave Sidhu's property. And the little chicken shit bastard couldn't stand up and call it out as your MLA because he was hanging with Ross Siemens and he was hanging with Mark Warkentine and he was hanging with Amric Moran. And I can't go against the establishment. And now he's wrecked his career. And Caroline Finley needs to address it head on because it's assholes like this that harm your party, harm your votes, and now the residents are working hard to get rid of them. That is insider trading. Whether he wants to hear it from me or he's got to hear it from Caroline Finley, and he knew it was leverage against the NDP because it was preferential treatment to Dave Sidhu, and he went in that little office and he hung his little face, and all he did is phone my friends and said, tell Mr. Pelican to stop busting my balls. Really doing this to the South Asians, to the farmers and everything, the insider trading, and he allowed it. And rather than asking David Eby, how much money did you get by lifting that piece of property on Dave Sidhu's piece of property on the land? And if you didn't, Mr. Premier, then you should be going after the mayor and Dave Sidhu for insider trading because it was a payoff to Dave Sidhu and Andy Sidhu to lift the land. He couldn't do it. He has now got caught with his both feet in his mouth and nobody there, and that is why you do not see Leanne Gasper beside him. You don't see anybody in Abbotsford. For gosh sakes, you don't even see Bruce Bamley beside him because of the stupid shit that he done. And he done it by himself. And they were not strong enough to stand on their own. So if you want to run for council, let me tell you how you do it. You got to go in and kiss that police chief's ass. And then you're given the royal treatment through Abbotsford. That's got to stop. That's got to stop. And an asshole like Colin Watts knew better than to do this stuff and knew better than lap dancing on the Chamber of Commerce lap. And he knew better that the Abbotsford residents need a police force that fight for them, that are there for them, that stop this insider trading. And these big developers were walking in and paying shit like this to cover it up and look away from voters. And now he's trapped and nobody wants to stand with him and nobody's got to take a picture with him. And now he's throwing private parties. He should have never ever threw these parties or went to these parties where Mike de Jong was, the establishment was, especially Mike being a major liberal that caused harm federally. Remember Simon Gibson said, I want somebody at the federal election, at the federal Conservatives to apologize to Mike de Jong for not selecting. The garbage they caused Suk Mangel when he was running for the nomination and everything else. That little chicken shit brat went and did this. I told Caroline Finley and my BC Conservatives and Bruce Bamman I will not stand for any cheating, whether it's an MLA. And I will not stand for this, that these titles of these titles that they run around that they're given and they lie about. And what they were doing is, it doesn't matter in Abbotsford if you're an NDP or a Conservative or you're a Liberal. They all hung together behind Abbotsford's voters' backs and played dirty games. And I'm asking Korky Neufeid, you need to fix it. I'm asking you as the mayor candidate, and I'm asking you as an Abbotsford resident and as voters, And the way you fix it is you issue an apology out of your own mouth. And you issue it and you make sure that it comes out of your mouth to every candidate that's running, and you issue it and you say that what you did at that party with Mike DeYoung, with Simon Gibson and everything, give Amric Moran an advantage, and not only off of me, but everything Amric Moran has done. And as an MLA, I'm going to fight the BC elections now, remove him for the preferential treatment, the insider, and the rigging he's done. And that's all it takes. And if Korky can't do it, I'm going to tell you, Amric Moran might become the city council, but I guarantee you will not be looking at your MLA position no more. You'll be asking Mike DeYoung. Everybody knew that Mike DeYoung was going to win the MP position. Mike ran out of juice when Abbotsford stood up. He had no more juice. He couldn't do it. He folded. He couldn't do anything. Even he had John Van Doggen come out. The great Henry Brown had to flush himself out. George Barry. And the list just went on. And Mike couldn't do it. There was no more juice because the voters stood up. When Pam got taken down the road and got hung out by Henry Brown, she had no more juice. She was convinced by Henry and all his friends he'd have all this help. And Rianne Gasper walked in and took her. So I'm going to ask this at the closing statement. I'm going to ask Bruce Bannon not to bail him out. I'm going to ask Rianne Gasper not to bail him out. I'm going to ask the BC Conservatives, all my friends in there, and I see Yuri's in there with Caroline Findlay, not to bail him out. Make him stand up and publicly apologize to all the candidates that got to run for my mayor, my council, and make him apologize out of his own mouth. And if he doesn't, I'm going to crank it 1,000,000 times harder as a politician and as the mayor candidate. And I'm going to make sure that he's going to regret what he did by loading Amric Moran. I'm live, Abbotsford, British Columbia, Korky Neufeid's office, Abbotsford, BC, Conservative.